Worlds End is happening on Saturday. Not the end of the world, but the AEW pay-per-view. And we're going to try and breeze through this as fast as possible, talking about every story on every match that has been announced so far. And if I seem to not be as enthusiastic as you would expect, I already recorded this and I was an idiot and accidentally recorded my webcam audio as well as my microphone audio, and everything has an echo, so we're having to start again. So without further ado, let's just get to it. We are starting off with the AEW Men's World Championship, and that is currently held by Jon Moxley, who beat Bryan Danielson at Wrestle Dream? Yes. After trying to murder him at All Out, and then they tried to murder him again at Wrestle Dream after he'd already won the match, which is a little bit harsh. I mean, murder's not great anyway. He is the leader of a group called the Death Riders, which is him as the leader. Pac, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta, who are the current AEW Trios champions, and Mina Shafir, whose job is mainly to carry around a briefcase that has the title in and to generally intimidate men and be a menace, and she's great at it. He is the one that requested this four-way match. Somebody pointed out online, which I thought was interesting, that three-way matches and four-way matches tend to be non-disqualification matches, which might be why John was so eager to have this, because it means that if any of his Death Riders get involved, he can't be disqualified for it. They've basically got free reign to fuck about and attack people and do whatever they please, which could be fun. He claims that AEW is full of egos and that he's trying to give the company a harsh reset, basically. But then he also proclaims that he is the king, which is weird to be like, oh, there's full of egos, but not my ego. My ego's in check, but I am the king. But to each their own. It's Moxley. He can basically do what he wants at this point. That's him at a brief glance. And then we have Orange Cassidy. He already challenged Jon Moxley for the title at Full Gear after a bunch of people were pushing him to be the leader of AEW. He didn't really want to be the leader because he knows how dangerous Jon Moxley is. He's fought Jon Moxley before. He's lost to him before. He's beat him before. He knows this man. He knows him. Everyone was like, you should step up and be the leader. And he was like, well, this man's dangerous. Leave it to me. I don't want any of you to get hurt. And he basically became a martyr for the cause. And after he lost at Full Gear, which he only lost because Wheeler Yuta attacked him while the referee's back was turned and distracted. And after the match, Moxley tried to murder him, and by pouring chemicals down his throat, which is mean. I don't get how he's constantly being allowed to get away with murder, literal murder, just because he has the men's championship. It's a bit odd. You would have thought that the wrestlers would unionise in order to try and protect themselves from literal assault and attempted murder. But apparently they're not smart enough to do that yet. I don't know. Someone's union busting, that's for sure. And then when Mox was trying to murder him, then Jay White came out to save him, and then Hangman came out to save him, and then Christian Cage was kind of there. Which was... I do have theories about why it's those people specifically, just in terms of my theory is that the reason Orange Cassidy was saying I'm going to do this on my own, don't get involved, was because the people who were offering to help weren't strong enough, that they weren't people who had proved that they could beat Jon Moxley. So what's the point in them getting hurt when they can't do anything? Whereas now, his sacrifice has then encouraged these other people to come out of the woodwork. Jay White beat Jon Moxley in the Continental Classic last year. Hangman Adam Page has beaten Jon Moxley before. Christian Cage is an opportunist. He's not getting involved. He's just kind of in the background, looming. So I kind of think maybe he did this as if I keep throwing myself in the fire line, eventually one of the big dogs is going to come out and help me. And they did. So there was a tag match. Jon Moxley and one of the other ones. I can't remember who it was. Might have been Pac. Was it Pac? Doesn't really matter. Versus Orange Cassidy and Jay White. And when they were on the precipice and they looked like they were about to win, Hangman Adam Page then came out and just started attacking Jon Moxley, which meant that the match got thrown out. Because unlike everyone else, Hangman Adam Page has realised that it's weird that every conflict is solved with a wrestling match when you could just go out and hit the guy. You know where he's going to be. So why not just punch him a little bit? And then Hangman, Orange Cassidy was trying to pull Hangman off of Jon Moxley, which was weird. And then Hangman pushed Orange, so Orange then tried to hit Hangman, and then Jay White accidentally got in the way, and then Jay hit Orange, and it's a mess. And that's part of the reason why Jon Moxley's like, yeah, I'll fight all of these people because they're not going to win. So Jay White's not that bothered about protecting AEW or stopping Jon Moxley's mission. He just really wants to be world champion, which, fair. This picture is from last year on the run-up to Full Gear 2023. That's not his world title. He stole it. And side note, I want them to bring back the brown belt. I think it's so much nicer than the black one they've currently got. But maybe that's a me thing. He's had issues with Hangman and Page since July. They faced off in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, the winner of which was going to get to go to All In London to challenge for the men's world title. And his first match was against Hangman Adam Page, and he lost. And part of that was because Christian Cage interfered in that match behind the referee's back, but also he got injured in that match. So when he came back from injury, he took issue with both of them for injuring him and for taking his spot in the tournament that he doesn't believe that they should have. And also he's got a 4-0 win record against Adam Page, and he figured actually when he came back I think it was 5-1 maybe, or 4-1, and he thought actually I shouldn't have lost that match, so that doesn't count. So they faced off at Wrestle Dream in October and Jay won, and then at Full Gear in November and Jay won again. I don't really know why they did the match again. I'm not a huge fan of how often a lot of these AEW matches have been happening lately. But, yeah, it's fine. I think the second match was better than the first one, so it's alright. He's the leader of Bullet Club Gold, or Bang Bang Gang. They go by both names. But all the other members are currently out injured. So Austin Gunn has been injured for a while, and then Colton Gunn was injured by Hangman Adam Page. I don't think he was actually injured. They just don't have anything for him to do while the others are out with injury. And then Juice Robinson was in the Continental Classic tournament and got injured in his first match against Will Ospreay. And then we have Hangman Adam Page, no longer an anxious cowboy, now he's an angry one. You shouldn't really place anxiety with anger. That doesn't seem healthy. But he's been after the men's world title for a long time, since basically the beginning of the year, although there were speculations that perhaps he was only interested in the title for a while because he wanted to prevent Swerve Strickland from getting it because they were in a big feud. And then there was a 3-way match at Revolution between current champion Samoa Joe, Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland because they were both number 1 contenders. And Hangman Adam Page basically tapped out in a submission to prevent Swerve from winning the title. And he also had attacked a couple of referees when it looked like Swerve might win. So he got suspended after that match. And while he was suspended, Swerve Strickland won the title. So he's kind of, since coming back, he's been like, I need this title. Basically because Swerve had the title when he came back. And he entered into the Owen Hart Foundation tournament to get to Swerve, who had the title. But then Bryan Danielson ended up winning the tournament by beating Hangman Adam Page. And then Bryan Danielson ended up winning the title. And then we've talked about the interference. He's just not a very happy guy. He's difficult to work with, to say the least. He wants to be left with John alone to just beat the shit out of him. And the other guys don't want that for some reason. They could just let him, soften him up, and then get rid of him and finish the job themselves. I don't know. This match, I don't know how it's going to go. I do predict that Mox is going to lose the title. Everyone else does not think that. Everyone else thinks that he's definitely keeping the title. I feel like something's got to happen because we need to progress to the next chapter of the story. And if he just retains and nothing happens, then that is boring and the story is stagnating. I'm not particularly invested in the story. I think Jay White is the best part of the story, I will be honest. And I am really, really hoping that the beginning of the year they start the blind tag team tournament again, which they normally do in summer, I think, but they didn't do it last year. I'm hoping that Private Pie, who are the current tag team champions, decide that the tag division's getting stale, we're going to bring back the blind tag team tournament, and we get Jay White and Hangman Adam Page, take them out of this and force them to concentrate on something else, because I think that would be entertaining. But I don't think that's actually going to happen. It's just hoping in my soul. Because yeah, their interactions are the in my opinion the best part of the story. Because I'm not super invested in everything else, which is fine. When people say wrestling's for everyone, it doesn't mean that every single wrestling story has to be for everyone. There are plenty of other stuff on the card that I am invested in that other people might not be. That, in fact, I've seen people vocally not me, which has pissed me off personally. But we won't get into that. If every wrestling story was for everyone, then none of the stories would be great, because when you try to cater to everyone, you don't tap into anyone's passion, because it's trial by committee. It's doing stuff for the algorithm. It lacks the soul that's needed for wrestling stories to be great. I'm cool with this not being 100% my thing, even though I love everyone that's involved. From the Men's World Championship to the Women's World Championship. This one will be briefer, even though I did keep that one as brief as I could. So, Mariah May is the current world champion. She beat Toni Storm at All In. She claims that women's wrestling is dead and she's the one that killed it, because she's holding the world championship and no one can match what she's doing and her level. And yeah, fair, to be honest. She's cruel and mean, and I love her so dearly. She used to be part of a tag team in Stardom in Japan called Rose Gold with Mina Shirakawa. She had a big thing about, like, she was refusing to have a celebration for winning the world title until Mina could be with her, and they finally had that celebration at Full Gear after Mariah May was just about to attack Mina, and then Mina attacked Mariah May, and that led to them having a match for the world title. Mariah May claims that she attacked Mina because she loves Mina, and that her attacking her was basically her giving her a shot at the title and giving her a shot at everything she wants, Women's World Championship. And she did it out of love, even though it's a weird way to show love. And then we have Thunder Rosa, who is the former AEW Women's World Champion. I don't believe she actually ever lost the title. I think she had to vacate it because she was out with injury for a long time. She beat Mina in their only match that they had in 2019. And then when Mariah May was coming up, back when she was pretending to be Toni Storm's biggest fan and was her apprentice / daughter, Thunder Rosa was trying to challenge Toni Storm for the world title, and to do that and prove that she was worthy of being able to challenge for the title, she had a match against Mariah May in April of this year, in which she beat Mariah May. So she basically said that she had dibs on whoever won Mina Shirakawa versus Mariah May because she's beat them both. So she should automatically get the opportunity to challenge for the title. And Mariah May kind of accepted, because after Thunder Rosa had a match against Harley Cameron, it was I think it was Day of the Dead sort of match. She took a sign from the crowd, which was probably planted there to be honest, that read "Women's Wrestling is alive and well," and she paraded it around as a celebration of women's wrestling, in which Mariah May took offence to because, as she said, women's wrestling is dead and she's the one that killed it. So they're having a match. Thunder Rosa's not going to win. This is just going to be a reason to have a women's match on the card. But it's going to be good because it's I can't remember what the specific match type is, but it's a gimmick match. There's going to be weapons and no disqualifications and that kind of thing. So it's going to be fun. They're probably leaning into that a bit more because one of the best women's matches of the year was Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander at All Out this year in September. And that was a similarly gimmicked match. Weapons. It was a street fight. I don't know if this one's technically a street fight, but similar concepts. They just like to jazz up the names sometimes. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. Thunder Rosa's proven that she can do that stuff already. Mariah May, I believe, has. She's proven that she's not afraid to bleed. But I can't remember if she's actually done any street fights. I think she has, actually, because she was wearing them. She had some cargo trousers that were really nice. It's going to be fun. The title's not going to change, but we always love when there's more than one women's match on the card, and there is. So, well done. And then we have MJF versus Adam Cole for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. This is going to be a long one. I tried to condense as much of it into one slide as possible because I've made these slides multiple times, and for the Full Gear one, I think it ended up being 6 pages, and I'm I don't really want to do 6 pages worth, but I have shoved 6 pages worth of information into one slide, so I don't know if that's better or worse. But we will breeze through it. So, context, I'll try to keep it brief. I have covered it in previous ones, but also the whole point of me doing this was to explain things, and not everyone will remember or be invested enough, or might not have been watching a month ago. MJF was the men's world champion for pretty much the whole of 2023. So, Adam Cole challenged MJF for the world title in summer, and it ended in a draw. Adam Cole asked for 5 more minutes. MJF told him to stuff it because he'd fulfilled his obligation to do the match. Why would he volunteer to extend that time when he could lose the title in 5 minutes? There's no point. So, Adam Cole kept trying to push to get this rematch for this thing of MJF's a coward, he wouldn't grant me the 5 more minutes, and that kind of thing. And then it was revealed that they were going to be tag team partners in this blind tag team tournament that they had. I don't know if it was a yearly thing because I wasn't watching AEW before 2023. But it was basically a thing of like, these tag teams are just randomly put together. People, like singles wrestlers who may never have teamed together before. The team that wins the blind tag team tournament get a chance to challenge for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. So they were put together and they were both very reluctant about it, and then they became friends, so much so that MJF gave Adam Cole another title shot for the belt at All In, biggest stage, Wembley Stadium, 80,000 people, like huge, like the biggest opportunity that he could have possibly given him. On the pre-show of All In, the two of them, because they lost the challenge for the AEW tag team titles, but they instead challenged on the pre-show for the Ring of Honor tag team titles, because Adam Cole has got an extensive history with Ring of Honor, but the tag team titles were a title that he never won. So they challenged Aussie Open for it and they won. And so going into the main event, they were against one another, but also championship holding tag team people. Adam Cole lost, but they were doing this thing where they would keep turning their back on each other, knowing like, oh, you're gonna betray me now, like just get it over with and just do it. And they never would. Like, instead they would just hug it out. So that happened at the end of this match where MJF was like, come on, I know that you need, or maybe it was Adam Cole that was like, I know you need to do it, because that's just how wrestling is, that's how it goes. And instead they hugged and they stayed friends, and Adam Cole would continue to be ringside while MJF was defending his title. Adam Cole was doing this at Grand Slam. It was MJF versus Samoa Joe, and when Adam Cole was running out to help him, he jumped off the ramp and he must have hit his ankle funny, and it basically broke. And yeah, it wasn't a fun time for him, and he was like out injured for like 14 months. He was like appearing less and less because obviously he couldn't move that much. And then during this time, like November time, Grand Slam was in September, I believe, MJF begins to get tormented by a guy in a devil mask and a bunch of goons in black. Now, the devil mask was MJF's, like, he would wear it to come out at pay-per-views because MJF's the devil. And it went missing at All In. He couldn't find it anymore. So the goons in black, the devil's minions or whatever you want to call them, challenged MJF for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Now, since Adam Cole had been injured, rather than giving up those titles, MJF had been defending them on his own. But because they didn't know who these people in black were, Adam Cole encouraged him not to face them on his own because they're dangerous and he doesn't know what they're capable of. So he encouraged him to make a deal with Samoa Joe, who was still sniffing around MJF's men's world title, and encouraged him to make a deal to help him defend the Ring of Honor tag team titles against these men in black. Not those men in black. And in exchange for helping him defend those titles, that Samoa Joe would get another chance to challenge for the men's world title. MJF eventually relents and agrees because of Adam Cole's insistence on it. And then just before that tag team match, the camera cuts to backstage and Samoa Joe has been attacked. And MJF thinks, screw it, I'm going to defend the title on my own. And he loses them. And then it's revealed that Samoa Joe was in business with the goons. Like, he wasn't part of it, but that they'd basically engineered this thing so that he could get this title opportunity. And then Samoa Joe wins the world title at Worlds End last year against MJF. And then after that match, after MJF loses, it's then revealed that Adam Cole was the devil all along, that he hates MJF and that work would be better without him, and that everybody hates him backstage, and that he's egocentric and he only cares about himself. And he was going to turn on me, so I turned on him first. And the goons were Roderick Strong, Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, and Wardlow, also known as the Undisputed Kingdom. Wardlow's not really been involved in this for a while because he got injured and he's just not around anymore. After World's End, MJF leaves AEW for like 5 months because he's injured. And then Adam Cole returns from his injury in October. Now, the Dynamite Dynam ring context. MJF's won it every year for 5 years, basically. They do like a battle royale, which is like a bunch of guys in the ring. You have to throw them over the top rope and their feet have to touch the ground and then they're eliminated. Last person eliminated gets to face off against MJF in a wrestling match, and then the winner of that gets the ring. And MJF's won every time so far. This year, I don't know if it's normally like this, I can't remember, but this year they did it so the battle royale, it was the last 2 competitors left in the battle royale then have a match, and then the winner of that match gets to wrestle for the ring. We'll get to that in a second, because we first need to talk about Full Gear and the lead up to that. So after Adam Cole came back in October, he wanted to fight MJF, and so did Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong's thing is mainly that Adam Cole's his best friend, and he kind of just does what Adam Cole does, or what Adam Cole wants him to do. He's loyal to a fault, to a point of just like, I have a problem with him just because you have a problem with him. Which it basically summarises the whole of the Undisputed Kingdom's whole deal when it comes to Adam Cole. He's the leader. They do what he wants them to do. Blindly. For some reason. So MJF was like, that's not going to make it that easy. I'll set you a challenge. Win 3 consecutive matches. And you'll get your match at Full Gear. Roderick Strong won all 3 of his. Adam Cole won 2, and then because MJF really didn't want to face him, he ended up paying Don Callis to send his best to make sure that Adam Cole does not win 3 matches. So his 3rd match ended up being against Konosuke Takeshita, who actually used the Dynamite Diamond ring, which had been lent to him by MJF, in order to knock Adam Cole out and win the match. So Roderick Strong faced off against MJF at Full Gear, and after the match, which MJF won, he then injured Roderick Strong's arm. Adam Cole was too late to save him. Like, he run out after he'd already injured his arm, which was strange. If he was in the back, he could see what was happening. So then we get to Kyle O'Reilly, who used to be Adam Cole's friend. They used to be a tag team. I think they were called Future Shock. I'm not 100% sure. I may have made that up. I don't know. Kyle was basically mad that, like, even before Full Gear, when they were trying to both get at MJF, he tried to stop them, saying that you know that MJF's going to be 2 steps ahead and you're putting your friend in danger, that Roderick Strong's only really doing this because of you, because of Adam, because he's the leader and he wants to, you know, do as the leader does and whatnot. And that Kyle was annoyed that Adam Cole keeps putting his friends in danger for the sake of stupid vendettas, especially when you've got, like, the Death Riders running around, like, literally assaulting people backstage. They were the last 2 left in the Dynamite Diamond Dozen Battle Royale, or whatever they call it, which meant they got to face off in a match, and the winner gets to face MJF. And Adam Cole beat Kyle O'Reilly. And after Roderick Strong was attacked at Full Gear, Kyle O'Reilly came out and was like mad at Adam Cole and being like, I told you this would happen and you let it happen. So they're not friends anymore. I mean, they've not been really friends for a while. It's Kyle O'Reilly's not interacted with this group in a long time. He came back from injury at Revolution, I think, sometime in spring, and the Undisputed Kingdom kept trying to recruit him, and he kept turning them down and wanting to figure things out by himself. And now he's part of the conglomeration, which is like a bunch of lads and lasses that just don't necessarily have a place otherwise. So this is kind of his first interaction with this group in a while. So it's interesting to see where that will lead. This is my most anticipated match of the night. I'll be honest. I love the storyline and I'm invested in these guys. Their tag team run in 2023 was the thing that got me hooked on wrestling on AEW. So I'm invested in the story and I just want them to be friends again. Every time they keep showing clips of them hugging from the past, just makes me sad because I want it back so bad. Even though I know you can't recapture feelings like that. That was just a moment in time and I should let it go, but I can't. Please just be friends again, guys. It's not worth it. Now we've talked about the exciting one, we'll get on to the AEW International Championship. So we have Konosuke Takeshita, the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita. He's a member of the Don Callis family, which is basically the main thing to focus on here. He's a current international champion. He won it at WrestleDream in a 3-way match between him, Will Ospreay and Ricochet, because Will Ospreay was the international champion. He had a match on the 5th anniversary of Dynamite against Ricochet because they had their own thing going on. And it went to a draw. They both agreed 5 more minutes, and then Takeshita got involved, got the match thrown out. And then it got made into a 3-way match, which Takeshita won after Kyle Fletcher, who's also a member of the Don Callis family, came out and attacked Will Ospreay. And then Takeshita pinned Ospreay to win the belt. He's the best. I love him. That's all that needs saying. And then we have Powerhouse Hobbs. He was a member of the Don Callis family, and he sustained an injury in April, challenging Jon Moxley for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, I believe it was. I don't think it was the United States one because he's already won that before. I believe it was the World Heavyweight because they made a big deal about it. It was a title match. It doesn't really matter who it was against. Don Callis had apparently pulled some favours in New Japan because it's the New Japan Championship to allow Powerhouse Hobbs to skip the line and challenge for the belt in AEW, and he got injured in that match. And then while he was out with injury, because he's only recently come back, the Don Callis family underwent a bit of a reshuffle in his absence. So when he was in the Don Callis family, it was Takeshita, Kyle Fletcher, Powerhouse Hobbs, Trent Beretta. I think that was it. And then in his absence, Roosh joined. Kind of. Or it was like teased then. And then obviously Powerhouse Hobbs went because he was injured. Trent Beretta went because he needed neck surgery. And then Jake the Snake Roberts is a guy who manages the Murder Hawk Lance Archer. And the Don Callis and Jake the Snake Roberts did a bit of a switcheroo. So Lance Archer is now with the Don Callis family, and Roosh is now with Jake the Snake Roberts, along with LFI, which is the faction that Roosh belongs to. And Don Callis also brought in Brian Cage. So Brian Cage and Lance Archer are now a tag team called the Murder Machines. And Powerhouse Hobbs was kind of just left in the dust, and who knows what's happening with Trent Beretta on when he's going to get back, and who knows, we'll see. I hope he comes back, and I hope he's well. Yeah, so when he came back, he was pissed off, because, like, he's just been left out to dry, so he wants revenge on the family. So him and Mark Davis have been tagging together. Mark Davis is one half of Aussie Open, which is a tag team that he was in alongside Kyle Fletcher. Mark Davis was also out injured for a long time, which is why Kyle Fletcher joined the Don Callis family, because he had to be a singles wrestler for like a year and a bit. So then when Mark Davis returned, he was offered a place immediately in the Don Callis family, and he turned it down because of he was friends with Will Ospreay, and he didn't like the fact that Kyle Fletcher attacked him at Wrestle Dream. None of that is important at all. But, you know, when you say one thing and then your brain goes on a tangent and it's like, well, this is important, and then this is important, and then this is important. But, I mean, to be fair, it is important for things that we will cover later when we get to the Continental Champion. So, now I just have to remember what I said. It's the hard part. And then we have the TBS Championship. A match that I am unclear why it's happening again. So, first we have Mercedes Moné. She beat Willow Nightingale for the TBS title at Double or Nothing in May. She's still TBS champion. It's been a while. She should probably lose it at some point. She beat Chris Statlander at Full Gear in November. Then Chris re-challenged for the title, and Mercedes accepted, because why wouldn't you? I've already beaten you once, so I can beat you again. Chris Statlander was the TBS champion for most of 2023, I believe. She lost it at Full Gear last year. Only it was a 3-way match, and she didn't technically get pinned or submitted to lose it, because it was her, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. And Julia Hart ended up, I can't remember if she pinned or submitted Sky Blue to win the title. So Chris has kind of had it in the back of her mind of like, well, I never lost this title, so it should be mine, really. So she's kind of chasing after it still. So she was besties with Willow Nightingale up until Double or Nothing, when she lost the belt, after which Chris Statlander attacked Willow. Part of that was she had a manager called Stokely Hathaway who was like constantly in her ear, who didn't like Willow, and Chris had said, you can only manage me if you manage Willow as well, or if you at least like tolerate and accept her. And he agreed, because he really wanted to manage Chris, and he basically got in her ear about Willow, and Chris then attacked Willow. But the reasoning that she gave was because Willow Nightingale never afforded her the grace of challenging for the TBS championship, which Chris Statlander had done with Willow when Chris was TBS champion. She had allowed Willow to challenge for the title. So I think she was hurt that her friend didn't afford her the same offer. So now she's kind of desperate for the title and asked for another chance, which Mercedes agreed to. I think part of her desperation is just to try and make it seem worth it, because she's no longer managed by Stokely Hathaway, and now she's kind of been floating a little bit around Willow in like a, I want to apologise, but it's really awkward because I did this for what seems like no reason now, because I'm still not TBS champion and nothing worked and I ruined this friendship and I feel really bad about it, kind of, that kind of awkward vibe. So I'm thinking that maybe she's so desperate for the title so she can then convince herself that at least it was worth it. At least she got the title out of it. So maybe she can reconcile her guilt a little bit and just try her best to move forward. Which I don't think, if she wins the title, which I really hope she does, I don't think it's going to work out for her. I think she's going to get it and she's still going to feel empty inside because she's got no friends. And that's sad. I love Mercedes Moné. It's time for her to lose at least one of her belts because she's also the New Japan Strong Women's Champion. And she's not on TV enough to warrant her having one belt, never mind two. I'll be honest. I'm just throwing it out there. I love her. She's one of the best in the world to do it. She's so entertaining. I love her character. But I want this belt on TV more. The last one is the Continental Championship. I'll keep this slide up for a second because this is actually 3 matches, not 1. And one of the matches, we don't know who's going to be in it. So, brief. Continental Classic is a round robin tournament. It's 12 competitors split into 2 leagues. The Gold League, Blue League. You score points based, like, you wrestle everyone else in your league, basically. 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, nothing for a loss. Aim is just to get the most points. Yeah. As most tournaments are. Like last year it was different where they had the winner and the winner and the runner up of each league faced off against each other. The winner of those matches then faced at Worlds End for the Continental Championship. This year they've done it so the winner of the Gold League faces off against the runner-up of the Blue League. The winner of the Blue League faces off against the runner-up of the Gold League. The winner of those matches then challenge for the title. And all 3 of those matches are happening on the pay-per-view. So if you win your match, you're then going to have to wrestle again. So I think that affects the psychology of how you play the match. Like, do you try and conserve your stamina in the hopes of getting through to the second match, or do you give the first match everything you've got and then be too exhausted to do the second match? Who knows? So first of all, we have Ricochet versus Kazuchika Okada. So Ricochet is the leader of the Gold League with 10 points, and he started the league off with a loss, and he had been a good guy, and then he lost at Wrestle Dream even though he hadn't been pinned for that title. He then challenged Konosuke Takeshita for that international title again at Full Gear because obviously his argument was, I wasn't pinned or submitted in that match for that title, so I've not lost against you, so I think I deserve a shot at this title. And then he lost. And then he lost his first match at the Continental Classic, and he's basically ended up on this feeling of doing the right thing is getting me nowhere. I'm just losing all of these matches to all of these people who are willing to cheat and do whatever it takes. So he has started cheating and doing whatever it takes to win these matches. And he beat Will Ospreay, who we will talk about in the next match, via cheating, kind of. Will Ospreay was stood on the top rope and he kicked the referee into the top rope, so Will fell, which then kind of led Ricochet to doing his finishing move and then getting the win. And then Will Ospreay confronted him about cheating and he completely denied it. And then we have Kazuchika Okada, who is the current Continental Champion because he beat Eddie Kingston in spring, who was the winner of the first tournament, the winner of the inaugural Continental Champion, shall we say. He's the runner-up of the Blue League with 10 points after beating Shelton Benjamin in his final match. Important notes are just, he lost to Kyle Fletcher in the tournament. Kyle Fletcher is in the second match. And he beat Will Ospreay in the finals of the G1 Climax before. Like, the G1 Climax, the Continental Classic is basically AEW's version of the G1 Climax, which is a New Japan tournament that's been going on for years and years and years and years. Which is, yeah, again, a round-robin tournament, score points, try and get the most points, and then face off in the final. So Kazuchika Okada has won 4 G1 Climaxes so far, so him being in this tournament was basically his way to try and prove that he is the greatest tournament wrestler in the world. And I believe it was in 2022, I think, Will Ospreay faced off against Okada in the finals of the G1 Climax and lost. So there's a potential to try and run that back and have Will Ospreay win. Semi-final number 2, as we've mentioned, Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. So Kyle Fletcher was the leader of the Blue League with 12 points. His only loss was to Mark Briscoe. I only mention this because I saw a lot of people on social media, on Blue Sky in particular, I say social media like I follow wrestling on any other platform, on Blue Sky, saying that they were acting really shocked that Kyle Fletcher had lost to Mark Briscoe, which is kind of a weird thing for me personally, because I just started catching up with some of the Ring of Honor shows that I'd missed, and back in the summer, Kyle Fletcher was the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, and Mark Briscoe was the Ring of Honor World Champion, and they had a match against one another, which Mark Briscoe won. So I think maybe because I had seen that recently, I didn't understand why it was so shocking that Mark Briscoe had won, because Mark Briscoe has beaten Kyle Fletcher before. Anyway, that's just an aside. That doesn't really matter. What matters more is that Kyle Fletcher used to be part of United Empire with Will Ospreay and his tag team partner Mark Davis that we've mentioned before, but he turned his back on Will with encouragement from Don Callis, his current manager, and they had a match at Full Gear following him attacking Will Ospreay at Wrestle Dream during the Takeshita Ricochet Ospreay 3-way match, and he beat Will Ospreay at Full Gear just 1 month ago, and we're running this match back again. 2 repeat matches on 2 pay-per-views is weird. The more I think about it, I know there's reasoning for this one, but I think if you were running back this match, it's weird to then run back Statlander and Mercedes Moné. Never mind. I'm sure I'll be fine. They're probably just trying to hedge the bets because people didn't really enjoy Worlds End last year, so they're just putting on matches that they know were great. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. It's not for me to judge, though I am judging. Finally, we have Will Ospreay, who was the runner-up in the Gold League with 9 points. I just want to kind of briefly mention this because I have heard people questioning why this happened, because technically he drew with Claudio Castagnoli, who also had 9 points, but they've said in the tournament from the beginning that if there are ties, the ties are broken by who won against one another. So like Claudio Castagnoli and Will Ospreay fought against one another in their league, and Will Ospreay won, which means that Will Ospreay advances. I think some of the confusion comes from the fact that last year there was a 3-way match in the semi-final of the Gold League, because it was a 3-way tie, because it was Jay White, Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland on 12 points, but the reason that was a 3-way was because Jon Moxley had beaten Swerve Strickland had beaten Jay White, and Jay White had beaten Jon Moxley, so there was no clear person who had lost to both of our competitors, so it was a tie that couldn't be broken by this system, so it ended up being a 3-way. That's why. So it is Will Ospreay in this. He has personal and professional issues against all of these guys. Obviously, we've mentioned Okada and Kyle Fletcher, but also the Ricochet thing that started was basically he was an established star in New Japan, just as Will Ospreay was starting there. So everything that he did was kind of compared to Ricochet, and he was sort of like baby brothered by him a little bit and not seen as like, the star that Ricochet is and that kind of stuff. And then Ricochet went to WWE, and Will Ospreay has been in the past quite vocal about the fact that he doesn't think that they're using him correctly, and that he doesn't know if Ricochet has got it in him to be who he used to be and who he knew him to be. So Ricochet kind of came to AEW this year in August to kind of prove that he is still as good as he always was, and that he hasn't lost a step just because he was being wasted in WWE. And then they had that match that went to a draw that led to the Wrestle Dream thing. And then in this tournament they faced off, and like I've mentioned, Ricochet cheated to get the win, which Ospreay has issues with. Even though Ospreay is very desperate to come off of his back-to-back losses at pay-per-views, losing a Wrestle Dream to Takeshita and then losing at Full Gear to Kyle Fletcher. So he's kind of got it in his head of like, oh, I'm in a funk, even though he's got 9 points, so he's won 3 matches, so it's clearly not in that much of a funk. Like, 3 out of 5 is not bad. That is everyone in this tournament that is facing off at World's End. Predictions and speculations. I figured that because we don't know who is going to be in the final yet, that all I can do is predict and speculate. And they're 2 of my favourite things to do. So these are my predictions and speculations. So, first and foremost, I want Ricochet to win. I predicted in the Continental Classic video that I made last month that I think Ricochet is going to win, and my feelings remain unchanged. And they've actually gotten a bit stronger since Ricochet became a bad guy. And I believe that they're already building up a match prior to him winning the title, because we've seen a couple of interactions between Ricochet and Swerve Strickland backstage, and some of those interactions have been Ricochet kind of mocking Swerve Strickland for not getting through to the finals of the Continental Classic, for not winning the tournament because he was in it last year. And I think maybe they're going to build to the 2 of them wrestling for this title once the tournament is over and Ricochet wins. However, I really don't think that Tony Khan can resist the urge to book Will Ospreay versus Kazuchika Okada. I think that's too big of a match for him to not book, even though I don't particularly want to see it, I'll be honest. I know that sounds awful, but I think I'm so like invested in this headcanon that Ricochet is going to win that I'm just like, I don't really want to see that yet. But also, because I was thinking, because I watched Ring of Honor Final Battle recently, and they do like a survival of the fittest for the Ring of Honor World TV title, and Brian Cage went in as the TV champion. And what I really loved about that was, because survival of the fittest is basically like, if you get pinned, you're out, and then it basically becomes that thing of people getting pinned, then they get out, like 6 guys to start with, and then someone will get pinned, and then they're eliminated, and then someone else get pinned, they're eliminated, and so on and so forth until there's 1 guy left. And what I loved about that was the fact that Brian Cage got pinned like halfway through, so it's that surprise of like knowing that there's going to be a new champion, but not knowing who that person's going to be, because there's still multiple people involved. So I think it would be cool if Okada lost to Ricochet, just so we have that feeling of there's going to be a new champion and we don't know who it's going to be. But also I do recognise that maybe my own bias at wanting Ricochet to win the whole thing is perhaps swaying my need for Okada to lose somewhat. But I don't think that he's keeping the title. I think he's had it for too long, first of all, and it's time for someone else to have a turn. But also, like, he's got a new baby at home, and it would be a great time for him to, like, take some time off, put the title on someone else. He can disappear for a little while, and then he can come back with a new something. A new storyline, probably not a new gimmick, but, like, just, give him a break, especially because, he's having to give up his time at home with the new child in order to compete in this tournament, because he's gone into it as champion and you have to defend it in the tournament. And if you don't, then you'd have to relinquish the belt. So I think it would be good for everyone if we went into the new year with a new champion. And even though part of me is thinking that it will be a new men's world champion that we go into the new year in, or a new TBS champion, I would be very happy if it was a new continental champion as well. Or maybe just let's change most of the titles, apart from Mariah and Takeshita. Just change all the others. Let's mix it up a bit. Well, that's what's happening at World's End, along with a few of my own predictions or personal fantasies about what's about to happen. And I hope you all enjoy the show. I was about to say I'll see you in the new year, but I do actually have a plan for another video before the new year is upon us. So hopefully I will get that recorded and out soon. Hopefully New Year's Eve. Yeah. But until then, enjoy World's End. Bye.